Session 1 is entitled Boosting Sustainable Production. My duties are to introduce the chair and the rapporteurs, and then the chair will actually introduce each of the panelists or the presenters for the specific session. The chair is Dr. Walapak Polasap, is a senior research associate at the Institute for Sustainable Food Systems in Kwantlen Polytechnic University in British Columbia, Canada. Her research interests include economics of local food systems, farm direct marketing, community food security, and related consumer behaviors. We have three rapporteurs. Dr. Tika Yotapakdi is an assistant professor and lecturer in the Applied Economics for Community Development Department at Metro University here in Thailand. Also at Metro University is Dr. Pacharin Sumpampan, who is a faculty member in the Applied Economics Department, Faculty of Economics at Metro. And then the third rapporteur is Pakapon Sayut, who is a lecturer and researcher in the Department of Agriculture Economics, Faculty of Agriculture, Khon University, Thailand. So I'll turn it over now to the chair, Dr. Walapak, who will then go forward, and she will moderate the entire proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you. Sawadika, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Session 1, Boosting Sustainable Production. My name is Walapak, again, and I'm very excited to be your host today for this session, as well as learning more about the research currently happening in this region. So in this session, we are taking a look at the production side of the food system. We know that the agri-food industries are the leading contributors of the environmental degradation and greenhouse gas emission. At the same time, agri-food industries are also the ones that would be most affected from climate change and other environmental catastrophes. So our food systems are so complex, and they're so closely related to economic development, population health, and the health of the Mother Earth herself. So there is no time left for us now. We are at the 11th hour. The food system transformation is urgently needed. Sustainability is a policy imperative. So we have 4 distinguished presentations in this session. 3 of our presenters are joining us here today to present and answer your questions. We have Dr. Yazar Hain from Myanmar, Dr. Santi Sanglet Suwai from Thailand, Dr. Nitishat Thamthanagun from Thailand. Another of our presenter, Mr. Sim Sok Chang from Cambodia. He cannot join us in person today due to an unexpected trip, but he has recorded the presentation to share with us. So before we get started, again, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping details for speakers. You have about 20 minutes to present. I'll give you a warning when you have about 5 minutes left. And after each presentation, we'll take a few minutes to take questions. And if we have time at the end, we'll take more questions then as well. And for webinar attendees, if you have questions, please type your questions in the Q&A box. Please do not use the chat function. So Q&A box, please. Okay, so now let's get started with the first presentation entitled Minimizing Global Double Impacts, Climate Change and COVID-19 to Agri-Food System Transformation in Myanmar. The presenter is Dr. Yazan Hain. Dr. Hain is an associate professor of agricultural economics at Yezin Agricultural University in Myanmar. He completed his PhD from Gasetsart University in the field of agricultural and resource economics, focusing on climate change and natural resources. His research revolves around natural resource economics, and currently he is exploring the non-market valuation of natural resources. His studies have examined diverse environmental change topics such as climate, vulnerability, adaptation, mitigation, and resilience in Myanmar's agricultural and food systems, and the Myanmar farming community's awareness and perception of climate change. So please welcome Dr. Hain.
So, good evening, the distinguished panelist, speaker, professor, researcher, all the participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad to hear this conference, and I would like to thank all the conference, the organizer, and the partner institution for such a wonderful opportunity to sharing what we are experiencing, the climate change and COVID-19 impact in here. So today, I would like to share how and what Myanmar agri-food system suffer climate change and COVID-19 challenges while transforming a smart and sustainable agricultural food system within the country. So let me start with the background concept of our presentation. As you all are aware, climate change and COVID-19 are the two major global crises. And these two global issues affect our agriculture and entire food system in multiple ways, ranging from the food production, food processing to the distribution and the final consumption. Both influence the agriculture and food system, but the nature and mechanism by which they do so differ. Climate change is a long-term effect and based slow over time and pose a long-term threat to the agriculture sector, especially in the extreme environment. It mainly causes the low productivity of the agriculture and threaten the availability, sustainability, and stability of the food security. And so COVID-19 is the have the intermediate and propagate quickly and pose a high risk to the agri-food system. We all know that the associated lockdown restriction on the physical movement and the closure of the restaurant, food store, shop affected from the production to the consumption, especially the downstream environment of the food system. So because of two global issues, agricultural system need to transform to be a smart and resilient industry for its food and nutrition security within the country. So, so when we are talking about the climate change, so we have it had different impact on the various climate zone of the country. As you see in this slide, there's a 4 agroecological zones based on topography and climate condition. Like in here, trying to have the lower perception and higher temperature over the other region, and we get that the average 3-year annual precipitation is 850 to 890 millimeter per year, and its average temperature is about 35 degrees centigrade, something like that. So in such different agroecology zone, 2 major rice growing area are observed in the dry, in the delta area, and also the dry zone area. And also, we can find that a large diversity of farming system throughout these 4 different zones. So based on these, the 30-year average data or rice production of these different climate zones, we had made a panel data analysis for climate change impact on rice farming system in the country. Then we observed that bare wavy 0.29% increment or drying zone harvest area and 0.02% of harvest area reduction for the coastal area. If there is 1% increments of the annual rainfall in those areas. Moreover, if there is 1% changes, something like that is 1% increase in temperature can cause 4.08 harvest area reduction in the dry zone, and also 3.32% or yield loss for the dry zone area, and it made 1.69 yield loss in the delta area. So these climate change had a special effect on Myanmar agri-food system, and then it is necessary to take the content specifying or location specifying action for those climatic impact. So based on these scientific evidence of how the rainfall and temperature affect on the rice farming system in the country, what sort of the adaptation strategy are practicing in the farm level began the question. So we attend the climate awareness and adaptation research, and from those studies, rainfall farming have the higher the perception and awareness on climate change, and as their farming activity are mostly depend on the rainfall annual rainfall condition. However, irrigated farming system have somehow approved possession, but it can be set low level if it compared to the river farmer. So based on their perception and the awareness, there's two different adaptation strategy. The first one is the on-farm adaptation strategy, and another one is the off-farm and on-farm adaptation strategy. So as you see in the slide, the climate-smart variety adaptation, timely farm management operation, and the crop productivity management are the major adaptation option in the farming system in here. So for those the adaptation measure, we made the propensity score matching analysis to carry out. It is carried out with a group of the farmer who use the adaptation strategy and a group who doesn't. So as a result of these the PS analysis, there will be $56 to $64 per hectare additional profit if a farmer adopt the crop variety changes or adoption of the new crop climate-smart variety, and $27 to $32 per hectare for adoption of the timely management, and $21 to $26 per hectare for the crop productive management. And if a farmer can use a combination of those adaptation strategy, there will be additional profits of the 108 to $124 per hectare. If then those are the farmer who doesn't. So when we are talking about the adaptation strategy are the widely priced in the farm level, so there should be an attention on the mitigation strategy on agriculture. So following the Helicas and Mesh, we agree that adaptation without mitigation means living climate change and global warming and it leads to a high social cost of adaptation. Moreover, it is beyond the capacity of the poor household. Therefore, we are trying to find the working farm level mitigation. What are the mitigation at the farm level? So before we move to the mitigation, I would like to share one more information, which is about the National Climate-Smart Agriculture Center. The National NCSA Center is established in since 2018 with the aim of the holding the capacity of the farming and forest stakeholders to mitigate climate change and improve land condition by adopting climate-smart agriculture and sustainable forest management policy and practice. So I am working for that center currently. So this is just briefly introduction to the NCSA Center. And then, so let me back to my presentation. For approaching the climate mitigation measure, our NCSA Center team figure out the GHG emission from the Myanmar agri sector. So following the IPCC 2006 guideline, the GHG emission from the agriculture sector during 2005 to 2050 is reported to the second national communication to the UMFCCC last year. So currently the emission of the GHG, estimation of the GHG emission from 1995 to 2080 is under the process, and we will publish it soon. So here in the slide, you can see that the emission was increased from 2005 to 2010, but then after 2010, we can see a sudden decrease from 2000 to 2010. So if we look at more detailed information, about 50% of the total emission is for the nitrate oxide emission, and also nearly 40% of the total emission is for the methane emission. And the major source of the emission are for the direct nitrate oxide emission, which is the emission from the different land use changes and land use management within the agri sector. The second major source is the rice cultivation. So our research of the NCSA Center did the methane emission measurement from the rice cultivation from 2018 to 2021. So seasonally, we measure the emission from different rice variety. And then we would like to highlight 3 rice variety. So the first one is 3, which is also known as the green super rice. It's really from the area, and also it is promised for low emission, drought resistant, salt tolerant, and high yield one. The second one is the Thai Nangao, and it is currently the many variety among the farmer. And the last one is the detergent, which is widely used in most part of the country. So from our story, it is observed that green super rice and Thai Nangao show the low methane emission rate than the detergent, and also it gives the better yield than the detergent. So we can see that the grain yield of the super rice and Thai Nangao is about to 8 ton per hectare, and also methane emission rate is 4.3, around 4.3 milligram methane equivalent square meter per hour. So. And we all know that the emission is concerned with the nitrogen fertilizer application in the feed. So we made a feed trial for the different nitrogen sources. So 2 organic fertilizer, chicken manure and content, and also one the urea fertilizer. Here in this slide, we see that the lowest emission observed from the content manure, 4.46 milligram methane emission per meter square per hour. But there is the lower yield than that of the other fertilizer. So this is some of the trade-off conditions. So we have to make more research on those issues. Okay. So therefore, while the farmer are doing the climate adaptation practice in their family, there is the high potential of integration of the mitigation effort to their current work. If we could encourage high yield and also low emission crop variety adaptation and proper farm management, such as fertilizer irrigation management to their farming activity. For those the scaling up and scaling out of the adaptation and mitigation practices to the climate change, the policy mandate are already exist in here. At the national level, there's a 4 important policy documents for the country, such as Myanmar Climate and Myanmar Agriculture Development Strategy and Investment Plan, Myanmar Climate Smart Master Plan 2080 to 2030. Regionally or globally, we all know that the ASEAN or all of the ASEAN member states commitment to the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement, and also we have the respected the nationally determined contribution and NDC document. So following the policy, we are currently proposing the important action for research and technology development and the institutionalization for the climate resilience. So this is the Myanmar Action Tribe Working Group outcome. So this we currently propose. Yeah, let me skip a little bit. So why we are doing we have somehow the climate resilient, the farming community in the country, but the COVID-19 pull out these levels of the resistance and drop back to the vulnerability. So now our attention is to how the COVID-19 impact to the Myanmar agri-food system. So we all know that the delayed commodity flow, restriction on movement on farm machinery, that are the impact of the COVID-19 on agri-food system. I want to explain too much about this one. So let me highlight a few points of the COVID-19 impact on the farming house. So according to the World Bank, and so we have seen that the temporary farm closure in agriculture sector due to the COVID-19 the around 40% in the first wave, and 60 to 21% in the second wave, and 3% during the third wave. But if we think about the whole the 3-year period, so temporary closure decline, and also it reported that operational capacity of the family household are moderately improved. So recently, our team did 3 case study in rice major area, vegetable area, and mixed area for the for COVID-19 impact on family strategy, family capacity. So there is 2 important key points. So naturally, the family has the natural advantages of the social distancing and self-isolated, and also the family operation have to continue as it is necessary for the food production. Then the supporting the weapon report. So the case study observed that most of the family activity are running during this pandemic period, and also if we compare the 2 situation of 2020 crop calendar, crop season and 2021 season, so the family decision to continue as before the farm operation capacity during the pandemic and the marketing on their family program improved as shown in this slide. However, the levels of farm imposed use and farm profit level and their financial capacity were declined. So for the remediation on this COVID-19 impact, there are 3 important measures are necessary to carry out immediately in line with the SST, the CERP, and MERP action. The first one is to promote investment and trade facilitation measure. The second one is promotion of the public-private partnership, and the third one is to encourage monitoring and evaluation throughout the evaluation. So in reducing the such global issue, it is important to have a contented the agricultural policy environment for managing short and the vulnerability. Then the concerned authority and committee have to have a duty to create an environment through the greater alignment of the policy, financial investment, and institutional arrangement. So at the same time, so transforming agri-food system of the region, research and technology are essential to put forward the efficiency and resilience of the entire food system. So therefore, we go for 6 actions for the agri-food system transformation in the country to be sustainable system. The first one is to build climate responsive policy environment. The second one is establish operational institutional arrangements and coordination mechanism. The third one is the conductive financial adequate capacity and technology across sector and actor to enable the diverse delivery of the climate smart response and COVID-19 recovery action. The third one is build awareness and capacity at all levels of the society to enable climate smart decision making and healthy life. And the last one is build functioning and multi-stakeholder partnership in the public, private, and civil society across the local, municipal, and international level to support and promote investment in and implementation of climate resilient, climate smart initiative and COVID-19 recovery action plan. So therefore, let me conclude my presentation highlighting that when we are trying to reduce the global impact in the transformation of smart and sustainable agri-food system, we would like to make a call for the creation of the enabling environment and strengthening the current research and technology development. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. On the clock, exactly. Amazing. Well, thank you again. And again, just a reminder, if you have questions, feel free to write it in the chat box. Or if you would like to, for the other panelists and speakers, if you would like to ask questions, just please use the hand raise function. While we're waiting for questions to come in, maybe I'll ask one first as a start. So you have mentioned all these policy mandates, and I'm just wondering, how has it been like during the implementation phase? Do you feel that it's been going too slow, or is it according to the plan? How has it been in Myanmar right now?
Yeah. So if we talk about this issue, so we have to look at duration. So before the COVID pandemic and also the after and post COVID pandemic. So before COVID the pandemic until the 2019, we have the visible progress and also achievement for the sustainable food system by the integration of the policy, the implication. So. But as you know, we suffer the climate COVID-19 impact like in other country, and also we have to struggle with the impact. And so far, so we have a little bit stand in certain level. So right now, yeah. But that is why we call the enabling environment for the strengthening the R&D and also necessary action, something like that. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have questions? We can also come back to Dr. Hines as well at the end when we have more time. Going once, going twice. All right. So then I would like to move on. Thank you again, Dr. Hein. I would like to move on to the second presentation entitled Natural Capital Impacts on Food Systems. The presenter is Dr. Santi Sanglet-Sawai. Dr. Sanglet-Sawai is an assistant professor from the Department of Agricultural and Resource Economics at the Faculty of Economics, Kasetsart University, Thailand. Its teaching includes courses related to econometrics, agricultural resource economics, and the evaluation of natural resources. And his research recently and his publications have examined topics related to consumer preferences and the non-market valuation of natural resources and the environment. His studies have included an economic valuation of drinking water dispensed from water vending machines, an assessment of monetary value of environmental costs accrued from Thailand's egg industry, and an analysis of the potential social benefits of implementing a social security system for informal workers. So please welcome Dr. Santi Sanglet-Sawai.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks to the organizer team for organizing this wonderful conference. My topic is the impact of food system on natural capitals. And this one I summarize from my two previous research. And the outline for my presentation today will start from the background, objective, methodology, result, and then conclusion. Okay, the motivation of this research came from the fact that in the past, we do not pay much attention to the environment and natural capital when we have an economic activities. Actually, natural capital provides benefit to humans, and at the same time, economic activities can affect natural capital, which you can see from the picture in the slides. So, natural capital provide the benefit via goods, services as the input of production, and in our consumption, in our production, we affect natural capital. So nowadays we are using 50% more natural capital than the regeneration rate. And with this rate, some studies said that by 2030, we will need the natural capital equivalent of 2 planets to sustain ourselves. And food systems are among other major factors causing significant damage to environment and human well-being. Having information about the negative impact could lead to a good policy direction. But most of the studies focus only on the greenhouse gas. Actually, there are other sources of negative impact. For example, air pollution, deforestation, and solid waste, and more and more. Plus, most of previous studies for only evaluate the impact in physical terms. For example, how many greenhouse gas produced from the food products. Very little literature that focus on monetary value. So to be able to see the impact clearer and make it comparable, convert the impact into the same unit with its monetary value could be a good option in terms of compare the con and pro. So the objective of my study is to investigate the impact of food system on natural capital in monetary value, monetary term. So we will try to monitorize the externality from the food system in monetary unit. And as I mentioned earlier, I summarize this presentation from 2 previous research. So I have 2 levels of estimation. The first level of estimation is I try to evaluate the average monetary value of impact from food product. For example, how much the average negative impact for 1 kilogram of beef, and estimate this impact. I use the data from hotel catering as a case study. So we can see that for 1 meal or for the meal that we eat, which category of food cause the highest impact. However, for any food product, there are various production systems. So in another research, I try to estimate the monetary value of impact from different systems, different food production system, and I select egg as case study because this is the cheap source of protein. For the methodology, in order to evaluate the monetary value, there are two main steps. The first step is quantifying the impact, the environment impact or environmental consequence in physical terms, which is greenhouse gas, air pollution, water pollution, waste generation, maybe wastewater. So any negative impact in physical terms, we try to estimate. I mean, we try to get the information. We use the information from many sources. One is the life cycle assessment database, which is done by Natural Metal and Materials Technology Center or MTech in Thailand. And another source is the greenhouse gas. We use the data from Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization or TGO. After we have the physical term or physical impact from the food product, we try to put the value on the impact. In this step, we use the benefit transfer technique. So for the first level, average impact on the food products, which we get the information from hotel catering, we divide the food product into 7 categories, which is meat, egg, vegetables, fruits, milk and dairy products, rice and flour products, fish and seafood. For the unit of estimation, in this case, we want to know the impact of each food product, right? So we try to estimate in the externality or negative impact the unit of estimation is baht, the Thai currency unit, baht per kilogram. And another unit is baht per guest night, which is the externality from food for 1 person stay in the hotel for 1 night. So we call baht per guest night. The problem of estimation is not all the products have the database. So there are only some that MTech estimate the impact or LCA database. So we have to select only some product as representative for each categories. So to keep an idea, for example, for meat, we select beef, pork, chicken as a representative for the meat categories. So for the vegetable fruit, we select some as the representative. So for beef, pork, and chicken, it account for 80% of meat. So we say that this could be a good representative. We use the database, the database of physical unit. We use the cattle to gate database. What is cattle to gate database? Cattle to gate is an assessment of environmental impact of the products from the resource extraction to the factory gate. So they estimate or calculate the impact from the first step until you have the product, until you have 1 kilogram of meat. So they may start from raising the cattle, go to the slaughterhouse, and then you get the meat. So that is the cattle to gate. We use the cattle to gate database in our estimation, in our valuation. And for the food product, due to the limited of data, we concern only greenhouse gas and air pollution. And this is an example of the physical unit that we use in our estimation. In this slide, I show you the example of beef and pork. When we get the database, we try to transform, because in the database they have the LCA for livestock, for living cow, and then for the beef they have the data from living cow into the slaughterhouse until you have the beef. So we combine both. We concern about the meat conversion ratio. So then we get this data. For other product, we do the same thing. We try to summarize until we have the impact in terms of per unit of product, per kilogram of product. And for the egg, for the second level, we want to see the different impact from different production system. In terms of egg, there are 3 main systems. So with it, cage free and free range. It is different. For the cage, it means that the chicken who lay eggs are kept in small cages for the whole duration of their lives. So can be represented by the upper right picture, and the rest is the cage free and free range. These 2 systems are different in terms of space that the chicken have. For the free range, they have more space. That is the main difference. And the unit of estimation in this study, I estimate in terms of baht per egg. In the LCA data, they have physical unit in per kilogram, but I convert it to per egg and use the average size of egg as the representative. Okay, in this study, I also use the cattle to gate database, and I concern the input use for egg production plus the output that generate from the system. So in egg production, they have to save first. They raise the egg, the chicken in the pullet farm. This is from the start to 18 weeks. After 18 weeks, they move to another farm, and in this farm, the hen can lay egg and produce eggs. So we concern all the input use and try to estimate the monetary value of the input use. use the LCA database, and of course we try to estimate the negative impact from the output. So that is the physical unit. After we gain the information about the physical unit, we try to monitorize the impact in monetary terms. So we use the benefit transfer. For the benefit transfer technique, there are two main method, three main types. First is the unit transfer, the second is function transfer, and the third one is meta-analysis. So I will not go into detail about the technique, but this study I use the unit transfer. The benefit transfer, the idea is we use the result from the study that already complete in one location. We call it case, we call it study site. And we use the data from that study to our study we call policy site. But when we want to use the benefit transfer technique, we need to concern for the different context of to study. So one thing is the income. So we have to adjust the value. So the technique to adjust the value, we concern about the income. We use the GDP per capita. So this is the formula. So we adjust it with this formula. Then we concern about the difference in currency, difference in purchasing power. So we convert it using PPP or purchasing power parity. Not use the currency, because if we use the currency, maybe there's some bias or some error. The PPP is I mean, it can measure the difference in utility. For example, if $1 you can buy one piece of hamburger, and $1 equal to 34 baht. But only can buy only one hamburger. But if for 34 baht in Thailand, we can buy 2 hamburgers. So it means that actually $1 equal to 17 baht in Thailand, because we can use only 17 baht to buy one hamburger. So we use PPP instead of currency, the exchange rate. And another thing that we have to concern is the price level, because the year of the study from the study side and the year of evaluation in the policy side are different. It's not the same year. So we have to adjust. Maybe we adjust. We have to concern about the inflation. So we use the price index. After we adjust for everything, we have the value for our study. And this is an example after I adjust for everything. I have the value for all the negative impact. The value or cost of greenhouse gas, I follow the study from World Bank, from the Professor Stiglitz, and the value for air emission did a mistake. Actually, air emission, the value or the cost of air emission, I use the study from DEFRA, that is the organization in England. So this is the value that I use. After we have everything, then we can convert it to the negative impact from the food product. So let's look at the result. This is the result for my study. I divide it into 7 categories. For the meat, you can see the impact is very high. So 1 kilogram of beef, the impact is about 40 baht per kilogram. For the pork, for the chicken, it's 18, 13. And when we compare with the price, it accounts for 10 to 15%. when look at egg, for the egg, the impact is 1 baht per egg. I convert it to per egg. And the percent of impact is 20%. Did it for the beef, for the meat, and for the egg. For vegetable, you can see that for vegetable, the impact is compared to the meat and egg is very low. So the impact is less than 1 baht per kilo. And when we look at the percent of impact, it also is still very low. It allow 1 to 2, I mean less than 1% to 2%, 3%, like that. For the fruit, the pattern is similar to the vegetables, still very low. For the milk, a bit higher, and for rice, for seafood, a bit higher, but not as high as the meat and egg. And some light in. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my slide. Okay. Okay, this is the curve to compare the impact. You can see that the meat and the egg have a very high impact, have very high negative value compared to other category. And because I want to see the impact on the meal that we eat, so we use the data from the hotel as a representative. For the beef, as I mentioned earlier, beef, pork, chicken account for 80% of meat category. So I say that this is the total impact 1.75, it from 80%, so 100%, I convert it to 2.19. And after converting...
Excuse me, Dr. Santi.
Yes.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, okay. So for the food product, I can say that meat and egg have the high impact, and vegetable and fruit have the low impact. And for the egg, okay, for the egg, I concern about the feed, because the feed maize is the major ingredients, and this cause the deforestation. So if the farm do not concern about the sort of the maize, maybe the feed they use cause the deforestation. So I convert it and try to estimate the impact for the farm that concerned about the sort of maize and not concerned about the sort of maize. And the conclusion is, if they concern about the sort of maize, so they use the maize from the legally plantation area, the impact is not quite high. But when they not concerned, the impact of the egg per one egg is higher than the price of the egg. Like I showed in this slide, it's 4 to 8 baht per egg compared to the price of egg 3 to 5 baht per egg. And so for the conclusion, like I already mentioned, meat is the higher impact, have the higher impact compared to vegetable or fruit. And for the meat, source of feed can boost the negative impact if you do not concern about the sort of plantation. So we need to support the livestock producer to use the feed from non-deforestation source. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Sorry for use more time.
No problem. Thank you so much, and apologize for rushing. We just want to make sure that we have a lot of time in case we want to plan a Q&A or discussion at the end. So thank you so much. Again, don't be shy, attendees. If you would like to ask questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A box or raise your hand. Also, we got one in the chat, I guess. People ask whether the presentation slides will be shared later. I think the organizer said that all the presentation slides should be available for everyone to access. So that's great news. So you can follow up with each presenter later. All right, so while we waiting for questions to come in, I have one question for Dr. Santi actually, because I don't know very much about livestock production in Thailand. So are suppliers of livestock feed mostly small scale local operation or large scale corporation? Because you talk a lot about deforestation.
For the egg production, most of the producer are, I think it's for the large scale. And for the large scale, they actually when I have the interviewing with them, they concerned about the sort of maize. But when I discuss with the small scale, they don't know about this.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, for my own research a few years ago, we also did a study that we thought about, you know, how can we reduce impacts from production, from livestock production. It turned out that, you know, we talked a lot about the cost of livestock production, and it comes down to that it's really hard to reduce this livestock production unless we all change our consumption behavior, just like in the recent paper that discussed, you know, the diet and the planetary health, that saying that, you know, if we all kind of reduce livestock consumption a little bit, that would contribute a lot to the reduction in greenhouse gas emission, but I know it's hard to change taste of people. And do you think that the results from your paper have implication to consumers? You know, when they look at the result and, oh my God, what happened to, you know, what I eat caused so much damage to the environment?
Yeah, I think if some people are, if they are environmentally concerned, I think it may impact their behavior. Maybe they will try to eat red meat. I hope, but for the one who eat meat level, I don't know. Maybe they don't care. I mean, for the one who are environmentalists, maybe they can change. They change their diet. They change their consumption behavior. But for the one who love meat, I'm not sure. Maybe the producer have to change the product. I mean, their production system to reduce. So I think we need to the cooperate between both sides, the producer and the consumer. I don't think not all the consumer will change.
All right. So I think if there are not any questions yet, oh wait, we got a person raising, Ms. 01, you raised your hand. Would you like to ask question?
Yes, thank you. I thank you for your presentations. Very interesting. I would like to know that, do you think what kind of policy that can help to incentive a livestock farmers to buy the feed that not cause the deforestation, because it would be more expensive, or how a farmer would know, and it would be, the price would be more expensive. What kind of policy could help farmers for motivate them to buy the more expensive feed?
You mean for the farmer, right? To buy the more expensive feed from legally plantation area.
Yes.
It's difficult for me. It's difficult question because in my opinion, if they invade the forest, that is illegal. So for me, the policy should protect the forest, not allow the farmer to invade the forest, to do the deforestation, and we need the policy for the feed producer to not allow them to buy the feed, the maize from the illegal or not cannot clarify that it come from the legal plantation area. That is my opinion. But now I think that there is a law, but the problem is the law in enforcement.
We have a question in the chat box, which is quite related to the previous question, actually. So Sonny asked, why is corn equated to causing deforestation? And what if corn is sourced locally and not encroach forest areas? Please elaborate on this topic.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so why is corn equated to causing deforestation? Because you mentioned that, because the major impact is the forest get cut down. So why is that the case?
Because in the northern part of Thailand, the upland farmer, they don't have, I don't know, maybe they don't have the area, and then they use the forest to grow the corn. Then in the past, maybe the price of corn is quite high, and they use the forest area to grow the corn, to grow the maize, and then the benefit that we use to receive from the forest it gone. So I'm not sure whether I answered the question.
Yeah, I've seen, like, when I traveled to Thailand, years ago, and we go onto the hill tribe visits in Thailand, we also see a situation that you mentioned as well, that especially it's a very contentious area, right, between people who live close to the forest and they have to make livelihood, they have to farm. And so we've seen that, okay, let's expand our farmland a little bit more into the forest, kind of like that, I suppose. Yeah.
So
just to keep track of time, we'll move on to the next presentation, and we'll come back to the questions later. Okay. So let's move on to the third presentation, entitled Pesticide Use Practices in Cambodia's Vegetable Farming, by Mr. Sim Sok Cheng from the Cambodia Development Resources Institute. Mr. Sok Cheng is the director and a research fellow of the Center for Policy Research in Agriculture and Rural Development of the Columbia Development Resource Institute. Mr. Sok Cheng has extensive experience in leading and managing research projects on agriculture, economic development, and program impact evaluation, focusing on smallholder farmers and rural communities. His current research highlights include research on promoting sustainable and inclusive agricultural developments through public and private partnerships. Cambodian vegetable farmers use pesticide practices and the impacts of rice policy changes in Vietnam. And again, unfortunately, because he's not here today, but our organizer will play his presentation for us.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to present in this international webinar. Thanks for organizer Kasasa University and also Dr. Ora that invite me to present in this webinar. My name is Sim Sok Cheng. I'm the director of Center for Policy Research in Agriculture and Rural Development in CDRI, Cambodia. Today, I'm gonna present about our work on pesticide use practice in Cambodia vegetable farming. Before I start, I would like to brief a little background on our study. The study was funded by Swedish SIDA, and we have 3 team members, myself, the team leaders, and we have Dr. Kaushit, and we have Ms. Saromolidait. And this study was published as a CDAI working paper last year in 2021. For today's content, I will introduce about why we conduct this study. We have a pesticide use situation in vegetable farming. We have a conceptual frameworks, and we have empirical finding and conclude with some policy recommendation. As everybody know, pesticide is agricultural technology that farmers use to control pest and weed, and it's very important input for farming. And there's a lot of type of pesticide, such as insecticide, fungicide, or herbicide that target different crop or insect or other thing. Even it have potential, but it's very harmful to not only to the farmers itself, but if induced too much, it might also have harmful to consumer. And there's a lot of big challenge that have been mentioned in Cambodian vegetable farming that face pesticide and disease. And there's very limited knowledge about this pesticide practice in Cambodia. And we only heard that there's a lot of farmers use a lot of pesticide in vegetable farming. So in this study, we would like to know what is the pesticide practice in vegetable farming in Cambodia, what is the factor that determine this use of pesticide practice, and what kind of recommendation that we will able to provide for policymakers. Now I would like to jump to pesticide use in Cambodian vegetable farming. Vegetables are the key part of Cambodian diet, and with more than 96% of population eat vegetable almost every day. It's around 4.8 days per week. As you can see in figure 1, the vegetable pest disease commonly found by farmer and damage caused to the crops. You can see that on average, farmer found pest or disease on 90% of their vegetable growing in the last cycle. If we look at the supply side of pesticide, you can see that farmers have easy access to a wide variety of pesticide input in the local market, in their commune or their district, even their village. Many pesticides come from Vietnam, Thai, and even China, and it was sold by this wholesaler. And you can see that in this figure 2, the percentage of pesticide that have Khmer instruction, there's only 68% that have Khmer instruction, and 30% are more like illegal, because in Cambodian GAP law, the pesticide have to be labeled in Khmer language. When we talk about toxicity of available pesticide, we found in the 4 provinces that we conduct survey, we found 372 different type of chemical input, and mainly insecticide. As you can see in these tables, there are 275 insecticide found in these 4 provinces, and importantly, there are 156 highly toxic insecticide that was labeled in yellow. As you can see in the table, the yellow is highly toxic label, and it was around 60% of the insecticide found in the 4 provinces. When look at use of pesticide by vegetable farmer, as you can see in figure 3, farmer clearly prefer chemical pesticide over biopesticide. 98% use chemical pesticide. And if you look at the figure 4, how farmer mix different type of pesticide in one spray, you can see that only 11% use one type of pesticide in one spray. There are 28% that mix 2 different type of pesticide in one spray, and 35% mix 3 different type of pesticide in one spray, and even there's more than 3 or 4 or 5 spray mixed per spray. Farmer mentioned about that they use pesticide because there's many pests. When we look at the input share of expenditures, pesticide is the top expenditures. When we look at the farmer knowledge of pesticide, we can see that more than 20% of farmers could not differentiate between harmful and beneficial species. Almost 90% of them believe that left-wing are harmful to their crops, and even higher percentage of farmers misjudge wood spider, parasitic wasp, and bee are harmful rather than beneficial. And most of the farmers got information on pest and disease from pesticide shop or family or friend or neighbors. And here I would like to show about the conceptual framework and the empirical specifications. We adopt this conceptual framework from Cheney Matures 2017, and the factor that influence the pesticide use practices, including amount of pesticide use, compliance with recommendations, come from 2 factors. One is knowledge, another one is lifestyle. Knowledge includes access to information on pest management, training on pest control, social network, or learning. For lifestyle include farmer attitude, socio-economic and demographic characteristics, and other factors such as location. For empirical methodology, we have 3 dependent variables. First dependent variable is the amount of pesticide in kilogram per hectare per week that a household use for a particular vegetable. We estimate this variable by asking farmers the following 5 questions. And the second dependent variable is the compliance with the recommendations, whether farmer comply with the recommendations for a particular pesticide use. And the third dependent variable is whether the pesticide container have yellow or blue labels, which are lower hazard than other yellow or red labels. To examine the determinant of quantity of pesticide use, we use oil irrigation. Yi is the continuous outcome variable and is the amount of pesticide used in kilogram per hectare per week. Hi is the set of independent variables including plot and household characteristics. To control for vegetable heterogeneity, we use vegetable farming dummy. Standard error in regression estimation is clustered at village level to ensure that it is robust for making inference, because there's a potential for inter-village correlations of dependent variable of household in the same village. For the second and third regression model, we use a profit model. For data, we use survey data that we conduct in 4 provinces. These 4 provinces are the main vegetable growing province, and we identify these 4 provinces and the village by conducting a market survey. We collect data from wholesaler in Phnom Penh, vegetable wholesaler in Phnom Penh, and in main provincial towns to identify the source of vegetable, and found that there are 4 provinces in Cambodia that are the main supplier for vegetable to wholesalers. One is Battambang, and we have 10 villages. So we have 200 households interview. Kampong Cham, we have 7 village and 140 household village interview. We have Kandal, also 10 village, 200 household interview, and Tabong Khmum, we have 3 village and 6 household interview. So in total, we have 600 household interview. This survey was conducted quite some time in 2019. For descriptive statistic, we have 14 vegetable here, and our first dependent variable is the quantity of pesticide per hectare per week at the vegetable level. And you can see that on average, people spray 3.2 kilogram of pesticide per hectare per week, and the most spray vegetable include peas 5.1, also bok choy 4.0, etc. And for complying with the recommended dose, we are doing at the pesticide level. We can see that around 50% don't apply to compliance. And for descriptive statistic for independent variable, we have age, female or male, schooling, belief, misconcept. We can say that one, if they believe that mixed variety of pesticide per spray is effective, and another is boosting. Boosting is the government vegetable training programs, and peer is the knowledge of training in the last 5 years. Store is the knowledge that they receive from store. Asset index, pesticide crop is the proportion of pesticide spending on to total input expenditures, and the crop widget is the proportion of vegetable annual income to total annual income in percentage, and the age group is the farmer participant in agricultural group or cooperative, and the last one is the vegetable land, the land size in hectare. Now the empirical finding. Regression result was shown in table 13. We have our regression for the amount of pesticide per hectare per week, and probit regression for compliance to recommended dose. As you can see, for our regression, there are age, female, and schooling are negatively significant related to amount of pesticide use per hectare. For example, on average, 0.9 kilo less pesticide were used when a woman was responsible for vegetable farming. Also, belief or misconception about pesticide use are positively correlated with amount of pesticide use. It means that pesticide use per hectare is around 0.8 kilogram higher when a farmer believes that mixing various pesticides together is effective form of pesticide management. Also, for location, we found that the base province, Kandahar province, farmers tend to use more pesticide than other 3 provinces, Battambang and Tebong and Kampong Cham. This finding can be reinforced by our descriptive statistic in the sense that most leafy vegetables such as mustard, green, bok choy, and Chinese clay and white petroi, which are attractive pests, are grown in Kandahar province. And for probit regression, we can see that there are a negative significant impact on boosting program. We are not sure why this is negative, but it can be that the program itself did not train about how to use the proper pesticide. Also found interesting is the positively significant of knowledge from neighbors. We can explain this finding from perspective of social learning, that farmer can learn how to use proper farm technology from other. That is, farmers are more positive about application and profitability of new technology based on experience of their neighbors. Similarly, literature also mentioned that farmers adjust their input from observing harvest of their neighbor who are using improved input. We also found a very highly positive significant relation with the agricultural group for the apply to recommend dose. The number show that the probability of compliance is almost 20% higher if farmer participate in agricultural cooperative or farmer group. This determination represents farmer social networking. This empirical finding also support the argument that social capital networking allow for exchange of information about farmer when they participate in rural institute or group. Finally, vegetable lands have a very significantly positive significant relation with the probability of farm household comply with recommended pesticide dose. For 1 hectare of land increase, probability of compliance of farmer with recommended dose increased by 22%. In another word, we can say that the larger cultivated area, the more attention farmer pay on the recommended pesticide doses. We have a few policy implications from this study. First, the intervention should aim at reducing pesticide dependence through improving farmer attitude toward pesticide use, promoting women participation in pest management, and also farmer educational level and geographic location are important entry level to lower pesticide use. And we also recommend to improve the dissemination of knowledge on pesticide use and promoting farmer participation in social group such as agricultural cooperative that would increase compliance with the recommended pesticide dose rate. And finally, our study has some limitations that could be addressed in future research. One, we did not have information about the environmental factors such as rainfall pattern, soil condition, and that are likely to affect farmer decision to spray more or to use more hazardous pesticide. And the study only used a cross-section of data, so empirical result can suffer bias caused by unobserved time invariant factor that could influence the dependent variable. That's all for my presentation, and thank you for listening. Please provide feedback and question to my email or through my colleague. I'm looking forward to receive any constructive comment and suggestion to further improve. Thank you.
So that was a great presentation, and I am very sad that Mr. Sok Cheng is not here because personally I have a lot of questions as well. We at our institute we also conducting a research project right now for trying to reduce pesticides use for a group of farmers who are farming in the National Wildlife Area in Vancouver. And we've been talking to farmers, and they've been farming there for 20 years, and it's really difficult to change their minds. And then it's just the only thing that would matter for them is the economic viability. And they always ask to see what's the proof that if I reduce pesticides use, I can still make the same money that I'm making right now. So it's a very interesting issue and questions. Since Mr. Sok Cheng is not here today to answer questions, he said that you can, if you have any more questions, you can contact him directly. So we'll just move on to the last presentation of this session. The presentation is called World Fruit Tree Technology and Innovation: Implications Towards Sustainable Farming. And the presenter is Dr. Nitisha Thamthanagun. And Dr. Thamthanagun is an assistant to the Dean for Research and Social Development and a lecturer at the Department of Agricultural and Resource Economics, Faculty of Economics at Kasetsart University, Thailand. She was a member of the team from Kasetsart University who participated as a researcher under the Institutional Links project sponsored by the Newton Fund of the British Council and the Office of Higher Education Commission, Thailand, to undertake the research that explored a sustainable agribusiness model to reduce poverty in Thailand's small-scale rubber farmers. She received her PhD from Harper Adams University in the UK. Welcome, Dr. Tamtanakul.
Thank you, Dr. Wallapat. Okay, hello and welcome everyone. It is my pleasure and honor to present in this event. I would like to thank the organizer and the partner for organizing this event. Today, I'm the presenter of this part of our project, World Food Tree Technology and Innovations, Implication towards Sustainable. Our researchers are me and Associate Professor Dr. Suvarna Pranit Wattakul, Assistant Professor Dr. Kapanat Nitisikamon, Assistant Professor Dr. Chakrit Pochanasin, and Dr. Suvarna Saromyat and Dr. Piyatat Panurak. Okay, next, why technology is so important? Look at the quote from FAO. The challenges facing sustainable agri-food system are considerable and interlinked. A wide range of approach, technologies, and practices exist to tackle agri-food system challenges. Science and innovations are an essential part of finding solutions to complex problems and can be best harnessed for impact when risks and trade-offs are identified and mitigated. This is a quote from FAO in this year. So look at our objective. What research has been done in food tree technology and innovations? This study was part of research project, Direction of Technology Driven for Orchard Development, funded by Thailand Science Research and Innovation. Look at this, the world's source data or research systematic mapping for food technology are synthesized by searching the literature through various international academic databases. Using keyword technologies, inventions, and innovation from nearly 30,000 international search databases, we found only 113 articles were included in this mapping. Look at the systematic mapping process. There were 5 steps. First, we did the assembly the review team and engagement stakeholder. The outcome of this step is about protocol. We want to scope out the study and develop about this protocol. And step 2 is about searching for evidence. And step 3 is screening evidence. Outcome was the research paper and data extraction in step 4. And step 5 is synthesis to describe and visualizing the finding. Look at this step 1. Okay. The protocol, the question was, what are technologies, intervention, and innovation in fruit tea? We want to focus only at farm level. We will have to we develop the PICO question. First, P, population or unit of study was the fruit trees or any tree that bioedible foods. Next, intervention or exposure, which are technologies, invention, innovation at farm levels. We didn't have a comparator. And next, we have the outcomes, like economic, social, and environmental outcome. For the step 2, what we did, we searching for evidence. This is from the international database. For example, Web of Science, Scopus, IBISCO, Ecolit, CABI, SEX, SciDirect, and we found nearly 40,000 like 38196. And after we find duplicate, we found not only still a lot, nearly 30,000 articles that we did for the next test. Next, for the step 3, searching evidence outcome was reference paper. We exclude like non-fruit tea is nearly 80% and about fruits, but not technology and not relevant topic and insufficient duplicate or author. So we got 1,435 is nearly 5% from the nearly 30,000. That's we did for screening evidence based on activities. Next, based on activities, we categorize in this. This is first is about land preparation, glasshouse, variety seeds management, fertilizer like this. And we can capture the top 3 of the catalyst is about the farm management, pest control disease, and about the seeds management. Next, step 4, we extract data extraction and coding. For example, full reference population like name of fruit tree, and intervention is like the name of technology and something like that. Okay, next, what we did use the EPPI reviewer software. This software was developed by University College of London. If you're interested in this software, you can search for Google EPPI reviewer. Okay, what we did, we use this software for our systematic mapping. So this diagram shows the summarize of our process. It's like from 38196 to 133. That's what we got. So for the finding, this was an increase in the number of studies published per year, starting from 2005 up to 2019, where the search was conducted, with the highest number of articles published in 2018. We didn't limit the year of the publication, but this is what we found from the relevant article. Next, for the finding, study was spread widely across 30 countries, 45 in Europe, 30 in Asia, and 20 in America, like USA and Brazil, and 9 in Oceania, and 5 in Africa. Top 3 countries with the most study were USA, China, and Spain. Next, the finding. This figure shows the number of studies according to production activities. Of the 113 articles, most studies were conducted in the experimental trial, followed by the commercial study. Experimental trial is nearly 80%. And when the categorized by production activities, top 3 most activity were pest control, disease, herbicide management, and the harvesting and the farm management. These are the same number of study. And also followed by the variety seeds management and pre-harvest management, and also the wrapping management less specifically. Next, for the name of fruit tea, top 3 fruits were apples, olive, and peach. Only a few studies focus on tropical foods, it's like coconut, mango, orange, durians. So this is I capture of the result to show you. This is just only the first production activity. It's about the seed management. What we did, we named the technology and the fruit study like banana and orchard and year. And concluded first of the technology that I would like to show you is a variety and seed management, such as tissue culture, micropropagations, or the transgenetic or genetic modifications, or the genome-wide association study and genomic selection or interventing in vitro. Next, for the land preparation and management like geostatical, it's about FTNIR, and or GAT, geospatial information technology, or ground penetration radar. As you can see from the photo, this is the equipment that's published by Martin and in 2017. Equipment for working the soil with root cutting to moderate shoot growth and precision forest fertilization. Next activity is a glasshouse and greenhouse and plant and next. And you're not surprised it's about the next. It's about the EWAP or evaporative cooling, or it's about the chlorine particle film or photo selection anti-hail netting. The fourth activity is irrigation or water management, like airborne remote sensing or GIS. Is related to irrigation or gravity fed drip irrigation or handheld infrared thermometer or swab soil, water, atmosphere, and plant applications. Next, pest control and disease. We grouped into the three main groups, like equipment, biotechnology, and application. It's like unmanned aerial vehicle, or you will be familiar with drone or UAV, or automatic spraying, remote sensing, target assisted spraying, trunk injection, like this. Or biotechnology or integrated production system, or also is about exclusion netting, again coating moss and pheromone nanogel, like this. And a model like GIS or CFD, computation dynamic model, environmental dependent application system, or it's about the web-based remote, like this. Next, bushing, pruning, trimming, thinning management, like tool and techniques. Tool like what they use, like electromechanical secateurs, a sprite, dung checker, or thinner machine, or wood chopper, or technique like this article from Brown to 2019. They use ABE, artificial bud extinctions. Like they compare between the use ABE and Apple didn't use ABE, like you can see from the photo, that ABE can increase the weight of apple about 5 to 38%, or the technique of Y-shaped system. Next, flowering or off-season management is like the machine of mango orchard flowering. This machine can help with the flowering, like the I'm not 100% sure about this machine. Is about to lighting in the mango orchard and like this. Next, pre-harvest management or wrapping, such as application for the estimation of the standard color index, or BP, black propagation, or neutral network, or color paper bags, or that they call an image analysis with artificial neural network, or automate counting detection in nighttime, or laser sensor system. Next, one of the top three the technology found in this activity is about harvesting. That I show you in the photo is such as it is autonomous harvesting robot for coconut. As in like they use the robot and camera, you can use your mobile phone to look at how to harvest the coconut, like this. Next, post-harvest or waste management, such as equipment or tool for post-harvest. And the last one is about farm management, such as tool like autonomous orchard vehicle, like on the photo. This is the mobile robot that's used in the orchard. And like application or model for farm, like they apply an application to yield estimate or artificial neural network for yield predictions. And also it's about mapping. Okay, they use GIS or spot fly image data. Or some article they found the management like quality management, size specific, or crop management. So when we did the visualizing text and analysis result with word cloud, we use the name of the technology, and we found that mostly it's about system and application, machine, and informations. Just a minute. Okay, for the outcomes, what world economics outcome is about the quality improvement and reduce cost and labor or increase productivity or increase profits. Next, for the social outcome is about food security and is about the criticism about welfare and livelihood. For the environmental outcome, most is about the reduced contamination to the environment. Next is about the soil quality and water quality or reduce global warming. For the barrier to uptake, the most is about the lack of skill or knowledge and experience, and also is about availability or difficult to access. Next is capital investment or money and financial. So for the facilitator to uptake the technology, the most study that we found is about the training and education is 36 study, and also next is about government support. It's not all study had the income, had the outcome, because some study they didn't mention the exactly outcome that we cannot identify. For the limitation, database we could not access for the full text because of our KU database, and we focus only English language, and only article published in peer-reviewed journal, not included other sources. And as you heard about it, we focus only at the farm level. So for the recommendation, the review identify a number of study of technology for food tea, which may benefit from further primary research. The result indicate that the government should have urgent policy to research and develop technologies or innovation that mitigate production problem, climate variability, plant disease and pest management, and the quality and expertise of worker too. Researchers should develop technology for like the weather forecasting at the orchard level as quick as possible, because this is the important cause for food production management at the present. Future technology should be easier to use than current technology and to be utilized in accordance with the needs of the fruit orchard farmer. The development process should involve fruit orchard farmers to share their opinions and test prototype too. The information from the farmer will facilitate researcher tracking the real problem and obstacle and guiding them to develop suitable technology for orchard management. And also, as you know about this, the COVID-19 pandemic, and in addition to an aging and declining birth rate, like in Thailand, is now is about 500,000 the Thai born per this year, has created a labor shortage. This is we conclude that this is urgent need to design and undertake the research on like climate change, such as using the measure air quality or demand, and actually not all, and demand driven research and using technology in commercial but at affordable price. So for the suggestion of the future research is needs include like the tropical fruits and the study in the region like of Africa, Southeast Asia, and Oceania, and cross-continental and cross-country study that we would like at the research need, and research on working farm and commercial rather than on research station or trial. Empirical study in smallholder farming system are needed. Study assessing multiple ecosystem service and their interactions, and also study of midstream and downstream technology. And the last one, research article published in English are touch of international interest, but lack of research published from Southeast Asia researchers. Thank you for your attention. Okay, I hope we have time for Q&A. I know most of you feel hungry because this is nearly noon now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It is nearly noon, but we do have time for about 15 more minutes to have lively discussions. Again, we're gonna ask you questions first, and then we're gonna go back to the other presenters if they're coming. There are more questions coming. I have two quick questions actually. I'm just wondering whether you have a chance to take a look at the relationship between the number of research and how big the tree fruit export sector is in that particular country, because I've seen, like, oh, Apple research is so much. Is it relatively to the States or China being one of the big exporters of apples, for example? Is it because, they want to drive that export sector and grow that production, so that's why they put more money into that research?
Yes, what we found, as you can see, the research has been done in mostly, not mostly, is nearly 40% in Europe. And as you can see, it's about, maybe there are many research around the world, but they didn't publish. And for this, we focus on only at farm level. We didn't have the specific question about how relationship between the fruits and about what type of food does export in the world. And sorry about that. We would like to know about the name of technology. That's what our objective.
Yeah, it's interesting. And also particularly for people of the Southeast Asia, how research related to temperate fruits can be applicable or useful. Like, for example, could we learn anything from those research, even though we cannot produce peaches or cherries here?
Yes, and what we found, like, maybe some technology is like uses image or the GIS or application or the system that can adapt. It's not only specific on the like apple or leaf or like peaches like this. And we will also, if we would like to adapt this technology into like we mostly in Southeast Asia, our fruit is a tropical food, and we also can adapt this technology into our productions.
Yeah, okay. So again, like I said, we have a little bit more time, so let me go back. If anybody would like to ask question, please use the raise hand function, but let me go back to the Q&A. So I think for Dr. Santi, we have a question for you. So the question is, it seemed from your slide, it seemed like the fishery section was less impact than meats and eggs. I doubt that the fishery section from your review were from wild caught or farm raised. I believe that the seafood from aquaculture farm would have impact more. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Okay, because like you said, because the limitation of the database, I use the database from MTech, and from MTech there are only few items about the seafood and fishery, and I only select one of them, and I think that one I cannot remember with species of fish, but I think that is the farmless. Maybe not a good, in my opinion, maybe not a good representative, because when we discuss with the hotel, the item of seafood, there are a lot, and there is no study. No study from NTO. I select only one. The seafood is in my opinion, maybe it's not a good representative. For other, it may be better than the seafood, because very limited database. But I use for the farmless item.
Yeah, I think I have seen not too unrelated, but I've seen a lot of papers as well coming from, especially about the deforestation of mangrove and the shrimp farming. I think interested readers can go look it up. And there is another question. I think this question is open to any panelists if you would like to take this question. Does the positive impact means an improvement in the food system? it's a broad question. So anybody would like to volunteer?
For me, I think yes. If it's positive, it means the improve. But it based on my estimation, because I concerned about the greenhouse gas, air pollution, in some item of food product, they absorb the greenhouse gas, but they release some air emission. So overall, it have a negative impact. But if we look inside in the detail, some part of them have the positive impact. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and certain type of production actually has more capacity in carbon sequestration in the soil as well, right? But it has limited capacity. It's not like you can just keep the carbon there forever, because once you turn the soil, then it's gone again. Not gone, but it's go back to the atmosphere again. Okay, so I have a question for Dr. Hines. From your experience working with farmers, do you see that they usually cooperate with when you want to introduce certain policy? Do you feel like they cooperate very well, or it takes them takes a lot out of them to change their mind?
Yeah. So according to my experience, so it might be two versions. Yeah, it happened in most, I think, in most area of the country. So just like in the early adopter, or some sort of the key farmer, they are really want to get the advanced technology, and also trying to make their productivity to be better. So for those farmer group, so it introduces some technology or the policy implication. It is quite easy, and also they have the mutual relationship with the organization, and also the extension agent, something like that. But on the other hand, so there is some sort of group, so especially the marginal farmer group. So they have the limited access to those extension service, and also something like that. So in those group, so it quite hard to do. But in that case, that we have to raise the awareness. That is why we are discussing the awareness raising for the one who doesn't have right now. So yeah, this is our experience. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's similar to the presentation that Dr. Sok Cheng presented, right? Like related to the pesticides use and the understanding of those and the awareness of it. Another question for Dr. Hein: how many percentage of Myanmar farmers was interested about greenhouse gas emission and climate change problem?
Yeah, actually, I'm not quite sure. But because this is the new issue, even in the research institution. So right now, for the research institution, we have high willingness to do research on the greenhouse gas emission from the agriculture, something like that. But for the farm level, I think it's a difficult question for me, because I'm not so sure how much they respond in the meantime. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've heard from a farmer here. He made a point. It was we were in a meeting, and then we talked about transitioning to organic agriculture, and then he made a point about how he doesn't want to be a bad guy. Like, he's a farmer, and he knows how, like, he would like to steward the land because that's his livelihood, and so it's kind of like an interesting question that everybody wants to make their livelihood as well. I have a question from for Dr. Tamtanagun. I really like the ending, the wrap up that you talked about how it has to move from research field and connect it with and connect with real farmers. and that means there has to be collaborations for between farmers and the university and governmental agency. I'm wondering if you could give us your thoughts on strategies to develop effective partnerships.
Yes. Okay. I can give you the example from my university. Like I graduated a PhD in the UK from the Harvard University. I mean, Harvard University developed they call the hand-free hectare. That is a project from the university. That's they didn't use the human on farm, but they use a human to control the like remote control and it's like no human on farm, and they use the remote control to control the machine to plant, to harvest like wheat like this. And this project is they have many partners. And also, I think this is a good example to develop like the something like prototype. That's in the future is like the farmer in the UK, they can adapt into the real life situation. And also they didn't use only the engineering or only the scientists. They also use economists. That's important. But if they want to calculate like cost and benefits, I think that's a good example. It's because we know the technology is good, but it's really high cost. But how we can find the technology that the farmer can affordable? I think that's a good example. They call it like hand-free hectare. If you want to know more, you can search about this. From my thought is about. I think we have many technology, we have many innovation, maybe from our local, but we lack of the publication. It's also difficult to, for example, to write in English and also to publish into the academic journal. But we also have many ways to publish is like to publish into the like researcher or the publish to the newsletter like this. And also in the future, like for farmer, they have to adapt and they have to change yourself. I can give you one example of the smart farmer. He graduated a master degree in our university, and now he is the durian farmer. And he also read the article from the publication, and he also read the books. There are many books about the technology. It's like for the real life situation, farmers have to adapt. It's not the receiver anymore. They have to change themselves, and they have to get to knowledge from the now you can search from the Google, and you can search from the academic journal. That is in my opinion. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And an event like this one is actually quite good, right? To get everybody in the region connected and learn from each other. So I think thank you, organizer, again for making this event happen. So it's about time, and I just want to wrap this up. In this session, we heard 4 amazing research, and they cover different aspects of the food production. From the first presentation, we had an example from Myanmar and learned that the livelihood of farmers really depends on several external factors, which are usually beyond their control, like the change in climate, the pandemic, or even wars in other regions of the world. And from the second presentation, we had an example from Thailand, and we learned how food production negatively impacts our natural capitals. And in the third presentation was an example from Cambodia. We got to understand a little bit more on the rate of pesticides use and the socioeconomic status of Cambodian farmers. And finally, from the last presentation, we learned about innovation and technology of tree fruit production around the world and the implication for future research of this region. And all these research point to better collaborations among all stakeholders, government, research universities, farmers, and other supporting businesses. We also, I believe that we also need to ensure that whatever technology and innovation that we're going to create or implement, they have to be readily and easily accessible by small-scale producers. They are the backbones of agriculture in this region, and currently they have such small margins, and if the new technology that come out somehow exclude them from this advancement, then they will be left behind. So this is something that we should all remember and think about. One last question. I don't know if we're gonna have time because it's time, but Dr. Hind is typing the answer, so please read. And well, thank you everyone again, and enjoy. I really enjoyed this session, and I hope you do as well. And we're gonna take a break so you all can come back for the next session.